Hello, hello. It's been a while since I've recorded this, a couple of days, because I've been focusing on schoolwork. So yeah, this is a great start to a critique video. Um, uh, okay, so last time we did the live one, so I didn't actually get to respond to anything. And even then, at that point in time, I hadn't even posted the one, so I hadn't even gotten able to reply to anything. But we're going to start off with a reply from the forums. I could check. I don't think anybody commented on the actual video itself. So I guess I can go check there real quick just for funsies. But I don't think anybody commented on that. I don't even think anybody watched it. Yeah, nobody comments on these. Nobody. But okay. So we have another comment from Destiny Dragon GS. So hello, thank you for commenting, much appreciated. So I'm gonna read his comment and then reply to it. Honestly, the fan base was sort of okay after CF happened. This is in correspondence to Blaze Blue. After CF happened and everything calmed down, then the special edition port came out and fixed nothing, causing everything to go shit again. Everything's pretty chill for the most part, at least from what I've seen, or from what I've heard from someone I've been talking to who's been trying to get into the series. I've been avoiding the community ever since CF happened. Came back briefly when the next game that fixed some of CF issues came out, and then booked it again once the CF Special Edition came out. Just don't ever mention it outside of saying that you're glad that some of the cut features came back in the next game, if you don't want to start a massive fight. Sword and Shield would probably be the same way. Also, the whole CF mess was pretty interesting in that the only people who were being pricks were people defending the game. This resulted in one of my favorite comments of all time, which stated that the people who were complaining about the game are all toxic, and the comment section this was written on was proof. Here's why this was funny. Every person complaining about the game in the section was extremely polite about it, and many of them explained their reasoning pretty clearly and didn't fall back on, "I have nothing, so shut the fuck up" arguments. While ironically enough, the people who were defending the game in the section were being colossal assholes, even to the point of gatekeeping. True story. I apologize, that was pretty far off track. That's okay. I could probably do a similar series about that game, but that's probably not happening, as A, that would require me to explain 3 games worth of content, or of context, before diving into the game itself, and B, I would have to replay it, which I really don't want to do. Also, no one would even watch it, which would make me wonder why I even bothered, considering I've bitched about this game enough to last a lifetime. I'll stop mentioning that mess now, as I was just using it to draw parallels, and it's making me go off track. That's okay. I don't mind. Parallels are fine. It's simple. Your fishing rod has the power to open up a pocket dimension where you may fight the encounter with no worries of the target escaping. That also apparently works on Hop for some reason. I'm not the biggest fan of Hop personally, as he reminds me a lot of Hao. I mentioned this a while back on Discord. A big part about why I don't like Hao is because he's really not a threat for the most part. The vast majority of the time he showed up, I rolled my eyes and I beat him in 3 seconds. And then wondered why I even bothered. I will admit that this comes from me liking harder games. Fair. Honestly, the best part of Kanto is the glitches. Fun fact. Someone managed to wrong warp to the end of Super Mario Land 2 using Pokemon Red. No joke. Oh god, why am I having so hard time breathing? No joke, they did a bunch of stuff in Red, and then swapped the game cards, and then they got warped to the credits of Mario Land. What? I will admit that some of the comparisons to other games, apply to the Pokemon series as a whole and not just Sword and Shield, so watch out for that when I bring them up. I should have mentioned this earlier, but I was never actually bothered by the Gen 6 experience share. Even now, I just see it as similar to the Prevasion system from the Gunvolt games. And easy mode that allows people who have no idea what they're doing to be able to function. Keyword, function. Yes, it does make things a lot easier, but it doesn't auto-win you the game. However, they're extremely easy to break with a bit of know-how. But to compensate, both of those systems can be turned off. Sword and Shield, how did you fuck this up? If you're going to put in a new player system, make sure you can turn it off. Or at the very least, do what the Gunvolt games do, and punish you for relying on it with stuff that disables it. I'll get more into this next time. I'll need to read a couple screenshot runs before I can say my final opinion on the character so far. Not a big fan of Leon so far, though. Eevee has had its anime verse has had its anime voice since Let's Go, from what I've seen. I have a theory about the void backgrounds. The regular void backgrounds are specifically for Team Yell fights. No, they're not. They are actually specifically for interior battles. Like interior battles within, restaurants and stuff like that. I figure I would make that statement now. No, they aren't just for Team Yell fights. There are Team Yell fights where there are backgrounds, but for the most part, interior battles are always voids for whatever reason. I just figure I'd get that comment out of the way now. I'm basing this off of gym leaders having an edited version of said void. Are they good now? Well, I don't really care that much, mostly because I have little interest in the game, but definitely no for you. Watch as this falls apart instantly. Yeah, I kind of did, sorry. I actually like the gym puzzle. Nice little throwback to the leader's background with the whole herding sheep thing. Still not a fan of Dynamaxing. It just looks really off anytime it's not a Dynamax versus Dynamax. Although a normal-sized Pokemon taking out a Dynamax Pokemon is always funny to watch. I understand where your friend is coming from, but that argument falls flat when applied to a series that has done much better in the past in those areas. Game Freak, we need to prevent the player from destroying the game by catching an early Hydreigon. Me, honestly, if they somehow survive the encounter in one piece, they've earned it. Don't worry about sounding too cynical. I'm 5 times worse. You definitely pointed out another difference between us, as every so often I give the things I don't like a chance to change my mind. Sometimes it's like CF where I've come to hate it more and more. I just do a much better job at controlling the rage and do my best to find the good things about it. And then there's stuff like the secret boss theme of Blaze Blue Calamity Trigger. God. Oh my god, it's so hard for me to breathe. Black Onslaught, which I originally hated for being the single most edgy song I've ever heard. Now I love it being the most hilariously edgy songs I've ever heard. I should probably start making these shorter, but for some reason, I like making my replies in the forum's essays. Don't ask me why. Okay. Whew. That's not your fault anyway. I don't know why I'm having such a difficult time breathing. Maybe I'm starting to get sick. I don't know. But, okay, so, starting off, well, I'm glad that the Blaze Blue fan base, didn't, collapse in on itself. That, whenever that happens to a fan base, it's never fun. When a fan base kind of just implodes because, of just, something that the company releases or whatever. Like, I guess I'd say Fallout 66, I was about to say 64. Oh yeah, this is Fallout the 64 for the Nintendo. No. Fallout 76. The fan base for that has basically imploded with, the constant shit that's constantly being, ruined, within that game. It's just like, the only people who are actually enjoying that game are either people who are really loyal to Bethesda or just ironically enjoy really bad games, and so that's funny in my eyes, but I am glad that the Blaze Blue fan base didn't, implode. Yeah, Sword and Shield is going to be the same way. I think Pokemon is going to be the same way for now. I don't think that Pokemon is going to die. I think I already stated that. I don't think Pokemon's going to die. Pokemon is too big to die. Yeah, it's impossible. Because, even if you have fans that lose interest or whatever, there's always going to be a new batch because children. Because children exist. And children will eat up anything. I was a child once, and I loved Sonic the Hedgehog games. Yeah, and while I still love Sonic the Hedgehog games, I realize that a good chunk of them are pretty shit. So, that's the deal with that. I think Sword and Shield is going to be pretty divisive. Sword and Shield is pretty divisive as it stands, but I don't think it's going to kill the franchise. I doubt it. I think we'll stay. I think the fan base is going to be separated for a couple years, and maybe, hopefully, we'll get a Pokemon game made with the heart that a Pokemon game deserves. and that will unify everybody together. But until that happens, I heavily, 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 heavily doubt that that the fan base is gonna ever unite again. I don't think that it's gonna kill Pokemon though. I think with or without a fan base, or with or without the split, Pokemon would outlast the fan base. Honestly, outlast the current fan base. If Pokemon lost interest in its entirety, then no, the franchise would eventually just die. But if it loses interest from the current fan base, there's always gonna be a resupply. That's cynical, I know, but it works. It just that's how they work. Also, on the part with the defending and all that stuff, yeah, when it comes to this game, it's both sides, And I say that as someone who heavily dislikes this game. It's both sides. Both sides are incredibly toxic to each other. If one side points out something, the other side will bash that something. It doesn't matter which side it is. I've seen people bringing up, yeah, you'll have people who bring up very minor things like, hey, in certain scenes in Pokemon Sword and Shield, there's a mouse. The thing is, they're not saying that the game is because of that specifically. They're stating that the game is bad as a whole, and this is one of the examples as how this game was lazily managed, that stuff like this was able to pass through into the final cut of this game. But then you'll have people like, you're just focusing on this one point, and it's just like, no, that's not the point, you misunderstand. But, but then you also have people who hate this game, vociferously. I think that's the word. Vociferously? I don't fucking know. You'll have people who hate this game who are just like, yeah, all a bunch. He's like, you guys accept nothing with quality. And look, I will admit I've fallen into that trap myself, where I've let my emotions 100% get the better of me, and I've said shit, whatever, and I apologize. But, ultimately, the thing that made me realize that both sides were bad, is I already knew that the side that I'm more or less on, which is the anti-Sword and Shield side, I already knew that group was filled with assholes. I already knew that shit. But, I guess, gross story, so, if you don't want to hear this, skip a minute. Yeah, the moment when I realized that both sides were the problem, and it's not just, the detractors of Sword and Shield, was I was in that Distant Kingdom chat. I think I've said before, Distant Kingdom's that one anti-Sword and Shield YouTuber. I was in that chat, and within the first day that I joined, there were several Defender trolls defending the game, and I saw somebody getting their genitalia cut off. That was something that one of the Defender trolls posted, and I can't erase that image from my mind. It was so disgusting and horrific to me that I can't honestly, I can't get it out of my mind how terrible that was. And that basically proved to me that it doesn't really matter what side you are in this game. Both sides are absolutely toxic to each other because neither side wants to listen to the other side's perspective at all. There are good things about this game. There are bad things about this game. But neither side wants to look at the other side and realize, overall, this game isn't good. This game isn't bad. This game is mediocre. It just is. And, that's what people don't seem to get. I am becoming less upset with this game and more bored and finding it just dull. Because that's what it is. It's dull. It's just X and Y. That's what it is. It's X and Y, except we're in England. Which I guess is fitting because X and Y was in France. So... Yeah. I think after this I do want to do... Because you said you want to do... You think about doing a similar series. I'd say give it a shot. you'd be surprised. There'd probably be people interested in seeing that. Um, in my, I'd say give it a shot. I mean, I'm planning after this to try and do either a full-on Pokemon retrospective or just something on Black and White 2 because um, Black and White 2 is like my least favorite Pokemon game outside of Gen 1. I don't really think I need to go into detail about why Gen 1 isn't good. But Black and White 2 is a game I really want to do because it is lauded or lauded as the greatest Pokemon game ever released, and I heavily disagree with that. I heavily disagree with that claim. I think it's the worst Pokemon game. It's like the worst Pokemon game next to, I'd say it goes like this. We're going worst Pokemon game. It's Red and Blue. Then it's Sword and Shield. Then it's Black and White 2. Sword and Shield for just how it's so mediocre, yet they removed like most of the Pokemon for this game. Yet there's really no reason. And I'm definitely gonna go in detail and make like a final conclusion video where that's the question I really want to ask is what was the point of removing all the Pokemon if there's barely any differences here? As for the fishing rod joke, that was funny. But yeah, shit like that just ruins presentation, honestly. And I know presentation isn't always key. And, but the other thing is, neither is gameplay. Gameplay is, while a video game is a game, if 100% of your focus is just the gameplay, you're not looking at the entirety of the game. Presentation is important, And the thing is, Pokemon's gameplay is so simple anyway that it's just like, I don't really come to Pokemon games for the gameplay. I come to them for the Pokemon, primarily. The music, for one thing. I come to Pokemon games for that. And the characters. And the story, if I can get one out of it. But as for this game, story-wise, it's not really going anywhere. It's basically just kind of like a rehash of Red and Blue. It's just the gym challenge. I like how it's like a sport, but that's about it. As for Hop and How, I like both, honestly. I like both. I liked How, and my major thing with why I like How is, How does not take over the entire plot of the game. How is a supporting character. He also goes through a character arc. Him and Gladion, specifically, work in, making a character arc for each other. Gladion learns to actually enjoy battling, and Hal learns to take things more seriously. And they mix together. It's not perfect by any means, but they mix together, and that's what works. It makes both, because they're both the rival of the player, but, the fact that they develop with each other, shows that they also have an impact on each other through the player. I'm not going to say it's perfect. I understand why people don't like Hal. He really is kind of just a pushover, but I think that was the point. Then again, that's not really an excuse. But that was definitely the point with his character. Hop, on the other hand, is not like Hal. He takes fighting very seriously, but he just gets in over his head. I think the rival he reminds me most of is Barry. The only problem is he has the same problem that we've had with, the friendly rival is picking the weaker Pokemon, which just, ruins the challenge. But then again, I do know something about Hop that is interesting, that I really do like about his character. It's something that they haven't done, which I'm not going to talk about until way later in this. But, Hop is fine. I think Hop is okay, in my opinion. So, moving forward, the harder games are definitely the more enjoyable ones. I will say that. Kanto, I find that funny. I find it funny that somebody managed to warp to the end of Super Mario Land using Pokemon Red. That's pretty fucking funny. Other than that, I ain't got much to say. The experience share function. Yeah, totally agree on that. I really wish that it could be turned off. I really do. Especially given the fact that when you do have it, it goes and takes up almost the entire fucking screen. And it's so fucking it's so ugly. It's like, it's like, yeah, it's like, you know how light mode Twitter is, right? Or light mode Discord? It's not pleasant on the eyes. Yeah, it takes over the whole screen, and I don't think it's ever done that before. Actually, I don't think it ever has. Yeah, it takes up almost the entire screen after every Pokemon defeat. That's singular. That's not like after every Pokemon battle. That's singular, as in after every Pokemon defeated in a battle, you get that prompt. And it's like, so fucking gross. I don't like it. I really don't. And the fact that you can't turn it off means I have to constantly box my Pokemon. And like I said, when I have to constantly box my Pokemon, I feel like I'm losing that attachment to my Pokemon. I'm not feeling immersed in this game. Yeah, I just feel like I have to throw these Pokemon away and then bring them back so that I can do other shit. As for Leon, he's a champion. I mean, he's better than Diantha, in my opinion. And, well, there technically wasn't really a champion in Gen 7, because you were the champion. So, I mean, he's better than Diantha, but he isn't, and I'd argue he's better than Alder and Iris, but, just because I'd never cared for Alder or Iris as Elite Four members, but he isn't a Cynthia, he isn't a Lance, and he isn't a Steven. Yeah, he isn't those three, and he's definitely not a Gary, or a Blue. So, yeah, don't got much of a statement on him. He just kind of is. I mean, I never played Let's Go. I don't plan on getting Let's Go unless I have to make a fucking series on it like this. I'd rather not get Let's Go, period. Let's Go is just embarrassing to me as a concept. It just is. Yeah. I mean, if enough people are fine with this, then I guess I'd do a Let's Go series, but I don't want to. I don't like Let's Go. Let's Go isn't even, I don't even consider Let's Go a main series game. I just consider Let's Go a mistake, that I don't like to talk about. As for the void backgrounds, I already made that statement. The void backgrounds are primarily for interiors, like building interiors, which I don't understand because I'm pretty sure in Sun and Moon they had actual interiors for when you actual battle backgrounds for when you were fighting in the interior of a building. So I don't know why that was. Yeah, I like the gym puzzle too. I think the gym puzzle was fine. Definitely better than today's, because we're going to be discussing this one. Yeah, definitely better than today's things. Today's is kind of okay. As for Dynamaxing, yeah, not a fan of it either. Just boring and it slows down the pace, But yeah, I will admit, seeing a normal sized Pokemon beat a Dynamax Pokemon is funny as shit. Yeah. Outside of that, I'm going to try and cut this short because, yeah, it's been 20 some minutes, so we definitely got to cut this short. So, I'm going to move on to Session 5, but, thank you for your comment, Destiny Dragon. Very much appreciate it. And, let's get on to Session 5, which is when we get to talk about one of the most controversial characters in the Pokemon series. Yeah. So we're starting off Session 5, and we made it to Hulberry, which is the city where Nessa, the Water-type gym leader, is located. And we're going to talk about her more later, but I want everybody to understand, this session is primarily focused not really that much on the game. There's going to be criticisms on the game. But my primary focus for this session is surrounding the controversy around Nessa's character. Not because of her actual character, which, is embarrassing to say that. The fact that this controversy isn't because her character is obnoxious or because, she's a difficult, fight or anything. If you know who this character is, then you know why the controversy is. And I want to bring it up because I don't think this is anything that has ever really happened in the Pokemon community before, and I think it's very important that we discuss it and that we talk about it. But we will get to that later. Starting off, I looked into it, and apparently you cannot change you cannot change the gym uniform you wear. You can wear it like clothes, but you cannot actually wear the gym uniform that you can buy at the little shop or whatever. You can't wear those into the stadium, and I think that is very lame. I wish that you were able to use the various uniforms, because hey, what if you were doing a monologue and you wanted to, be like, a steel gym leader or whatever, but you're forced to wear the plain old soccer looking thing, and that's cool and all, but it's like, I wish that they didn't do that, because there were so many possibilities that could have gone into that, and it would have been really cool to see that, but, that's life, and, it's kind of upsetting that is not something that you can do. Moving on, we finally got to meet Oleana, which is, Chairman Rose, in his civilian uniform, and I have to say, I don't get what's with the stupid polka dot underwear looking shorts and the sweater. He looks really dumb. Like, really dumb. And it's like, I don't know why. Like, I don't know why he had to wear that, considering that people still know that it's him anyway. So it's like, there's no point in him wearing a disguise. So why is he wearing what looks like his underwear in public? I don't get it. I'll be very, very blunt. I don't get it. And that's just me. All I gotta say is, one thing we do know is that Bede is supported by the chairman. Also, Bede was there. And, in this scene, you see a couple of characters trying to interview, Chairman Rose, but Oleana, stops them and get away, and, the chairman, is like, no, wait, don't go, and he's trying to interact with them, but, Oleana kind of kicks them away, and she's basically his secretary. She got a big-ass forehead, too. That's not a complaint, that's just fact. She has a very, very large forehead. But, alright, I like how the chairman flat out forgets who Bede is. Like, there's a point where Bede's like, I'm willing to do whatever I can for you, sir. And Rose just looks at him and is like, who the fuck are you? Like, who are you again? He's like, I'm Bede? And I just, I found that funny as a minor thing. But then it's also funny that, Rose, remembers who you are instead. So it's like, wow, we're really just kicking Bede in the shins already, aren't we? Also, I'd like to apologize. I have been pronouncing Rose's name as Rose from Dragon Ball Super. And, I apologize for that. It was kind of just a verbal tick. So, I hope you understand. Though I think Rose would actually be a more interesting name for him. But it does make sense that Rose would not remember a lot of people's names. He is pretty much the head of the Pokemon League and also several companies throughout Galar. So, yeah, he's clearly a very busy man, but he also comes off as, like, a bit of a dick just because he can't remember people. But, it's whatever. So I wrote down, Oleana is kind of the strict secretary, the strict secretary stereotype, from what I gather, and she seems like she's pretty much just interested in being that. So I guess, I'm interested to see how that develops into the future and see what her true relationship with Rose is, but outside of that, not much down there. So let's talk about the rest of Hulberry. Hulberry is definitely a major improvement to Turffield, because you can actually go to places here. My major issue with Turfield is that Turfield looks large, but you can't access most of that area. So, ooh, so at least in the case of at least in the case of Hulberry, there are a lot of places to go into. You know, you can catch. There are wild encounters you can catch while you're there, which is neat. There's a lighthouse, but you can't go into the lighthouse, which kind of sucks. And I saw this lady just looking awestruck by something, but it wasn't really much of anything. They were just like, "Can you tell what the gender difference is between Pokemans? And, between Woopers?" And I was like, "Yeah, one has less little sticky things out of the side of their head." That's it. That's all I've got on that. So yeah. And another thing I wanted to note, and this isn't even a criticism, this is just a kind of a genuine question. In this town, there's a kid that, references Unova and the Battle Subway, because there are, like, trains in this game that you can use for travel. And part of me is interested in this, because considering Galar is basically a representation of England, and Unova is a representation of the United States, I'm interested to see how those two regions would interact with each other. Like, was there a civil war? Or, not civil war. Was there a revolutionary war in Unova to, get away from Galar? And on that note, what's Galar's relationship with Kalos? Because France and England have a very interesting relationship historically. So, what's the relationship between Galar and Kalos and whatnot? Yeah, so I know I'm getting off track here, but I think that's interesting to think about. Definitely something I want to see explored in several runs. I hope somebody listens to this and decides to make a run using, like the Revolutionary War, or the 7 Years' War as like an actual concept, because I think that would be pretty neat, overall. They also have the berry market here. As you can tell, I'm recording this really late. They have, it looks like they had the berry market, but it's actually more like just a general market area, which, also, yeah, just kind of a general market area, which is cool. It even but it doesn't let you sit on any of the benches, which kind of sucks. And so there's Team Yell at the other side of the town, so I realized I couldn't go there until I beat Nessa, so I went to level up my Pokemon a bit, and I explored the town, and whatnot. And, yet again, we had another battle background issue. I was fishing in the city, and I'm in the field again, and it doesn't make any sense. It's like, I understand, like, there's part of me that's just like, I don't even care at this point. It's just, I'm mentioning it because it's just like, why? You couldn't just put water, like, if it was just a water field or whatever, like just water and whatever, I don't think I'd be half as upset, because at least it would make sense. But the fact that it's just a random field, it's like, I'm not even upset anymore. I'm just like, why? What is the point? But it's a Pokemon, it's called Barracuda? Or whatever it is. Not Barracuda, it's something else. I wasn't interested in it. I didn't think its design was very good. I just thought it kind of was. So, yeah, I don't really need it because I already have another water type. And that, So, yeah, I don't need it, so I left it alone. And I had our first interaction with Nessa. So, before we get into that, she's next to the lighthouse, so it's like a similar interaction with Jasmine, I'd like to say, except Jasmine's actually in the lighthouse. So it's kind of like that interaction, but the one thing I wanted to point out was that there's a guy standing at the very top of the light tower, And there's just a Wingull, and it's not flapping its wings or anything. It's just levitating there in front of him in the air. So, yeah, that's all funny and whatnot. But now, I'd like to get into serious mode. We're going to discuss the controversy around Nessa. So, Nessa is a very controversial character, and it's not because of, I'd like to repeat, it isn't because her character's obnoxious, or her character's annoying. It isn't because, it isn't because her gym battle is specifically difficult or whatever. Her primary controversy, and this is going to sound very, very dumb, because it is, the fact that this is the controversy for a children's game about catching monsters. The major source of controversy for her character has to do with the color of her skin. Nessa is a character with dark skin and blue eyes. And, yeah. And I have no problem with that. I want to make myself very clear. I think her design is great. I like her design. It's, she has a very sleek, stylistic design. Her outfit suits her perfectly. I even like the little floaty devices on the sandals that she wears, and I love how the blue works. It works with her design. I like her design. But there are people out there that are either attacking others because, the skin color isn't exact to how it is in the official artwork. You have people making fan art. You'll have people who harass these people for not making her skin exactly the same color tone as it is on the official art. But you'll also have, racists that come out, and harass people by making Nessa an intentionally white design, which, doesn't look right, honestly, with her character. And I just don't see it. I don't see the use in making this character white at all. It's offensive. It's pointless. It doesn't get you anywhere. It's just, you're just doing it to hurt people and irritate others. So the reason why this happened is because you have a lot of, Eastern artists in the world. Eastern, people from Asia and whatnot. And people in Asia do not interact that often. And it's like, I'm treading on very, so if I make a misstep or whatever, I deeply apologize. I'm not trying to say anything offensive here. I am just trying to, state, what I know. In places like Japan and China, and Korea, in those, areas, the people there do not tend to interact a lot with people of very dark skin tones, because not a lot of people with very dark skin tones live in those countries. Primarily, those countries are filled with pretty much one singular, I don't want to say race, it's just one singular group of people. I don't want to say race, because, race is just a word I don't like. And they're not going, they don't interact with, so they're not going to understand our, the Western perspective. In the West, it is offensive, people find it offensive when, you whitewash a character, because there have been characters, put to film or whatever that have, been put with white actors, or whatnot. People don't like that. People also don't like it when when you intentionally change the race of a character, no matter what the race of the character is. And I hate saying the word race, because race really is just so unimportant it should be unimportant in the concept, especially in a Pokemon game. But what happened is you had a lot of Eastern artists drawing Nessa with a lighter skin tone. Sometimes, it was because just general shading, because, light reflects off of skin, and, when light reflects off of skin, it looks lighter in light. Some people are using watercolor, and just some people are just doing it, not to be, intentionally racist or whatever, but that's, that's just how they did it. And you have a lot of Westerners who, are harassing these people. And the thing is, the Westerners don't understand, and it's not all Westerners, mind you, but, there are Westerners who just don't understand the concept that, not every place has the same culture as we do. There are cultural barriers, that people, it's like, we don't have the same culture in the United States that they have in Japan or Korea or India, or Australia. We don't have the exact same culture, and especially America. America is a mixing pot of various cultures, and so at first, you had Westerners harassing, Eastern artists. But then what happened is, the Westerners doing that eventually opened themselves up to, either other Westerners or specific Easterners that just wanted to irritate them, and started making stuff of Nessa being white, or having extremely light skin tones or whatever, just to irritate and harass them. And, it's, that's not okay. That isn't okay. That doesn't get you cool points for doing that. Just, to harass these people, harassing either side is wrong. Harassing the Eastern artists and harassing the people, who are offended by the lighter skin, it's wrong. What you do is you explain to them. You explain like a normal human being why, they are overdoing it. You don't start, making offensive artwork just to fuck with them. That's not cool. That's not cool. Yeah. And so, I don't plan on making this a political theme. This, I don't want any of that shit. I'm not interested in that shit. I don't want to make this a whole political statement about this. That's not my point. My major point is that if you harass people for this, harassing people is wrong. That's the general point here. And, trying to, I guess, the closest I'm going to make to a political statement is trying to force a political statement out of a character that isn't real and that is from a children's video game focused on getting along with people. Getting along with each other, and making bonds with each other. Trying to just twist that to fit your political needs and desires, or to just harass other people to be a dick. It's wrong. It's wrong, and it's unnecessary. There are people making white Nessa mods, and to those people, I pose a question to you. What the fuck are you doing? Why? What do you gain from doing this? Shouldn't you be, doing something more fucking important? Like, I don't know, modding Pokemon into the fucking game? Why are you wasting your time irritating people? Why aren't you just fucking making, content that actually deserves to be made? Why not bring Pokemon back? Isn't that the more important thing here? Than this character and how her skin color is? Shouldn't that be more important to the actual game? To actual fans of the game? Because if your primary focus on this game, your major takeaway is about Nessa's race, and I hate saying that word, is because of Nessa's skin color, then get the fuck out. Get the fuck out of here. If you're gonna fixate on that specifically, get the fuck out. I don't care what side you're on. If you're fixating up because it offends you, that certain artists draw her one way, yeah, or if you're hyperfixating on it to irritate people, fuck off. That's not what Pokemon is about. Pokemon isn't about a political agenda. It's just about Pokemon. Go mod in a Jigglypuff, or mod in a Squirtle, you know, shit, mod in a goddamn, Garchomp. Don't waste my time. Don't waste everybody's time. Don't waste your time making racist, shit, or just being an idiot and assuming everything is racist. Don't do that shit. It's not funny. It's, and it doesn't make you cool. Okay? Stop harassing each other. Stop it. Stop being stupid and stop harassing one another. You don't win. You only lose. Okay? That is the best way I can say it. Stop. Stop harassing each other. You don't get anything out of it. You just lose. Okay? I think the Nessa controversy is not going to impact the game. It really hasn't. It will impact the fan base because now there are, because now we're getting to see, who the racists and the non-racists are, whatever, and shit like that. It's just like, shit like that should just not matter. Just ignore it. Just ignore that shit. Ignore both sides. And just play the fucking game. If this was your reason, if your hyperfixation on Nessa's design because of her skin color or whatever on either side is what drove you to buy this game, either to irritate others or to not be a racist or whatever, I'm just going to say it flat out, and I hope you don't hate me for it, but you're fucking stupid. Just saying that out loud. If you bought this, especially if you bought this game to harass other people, through Nessa's skin color, you're a fucking idiot. And I'm laughing at you. Because it's just like, you just wasted $60. That's all I have to say to you. You wasted $60 over that. I doubt people actually did that, but if somebody actually did, that is my message to you. You're an idiot for buying this game if that was your primary reason. So, we finally got to interact with her, and I wrote down, yes, in my opinion, she has a very gorgeous design. I like the contrast with her blue hair. I like the contrast. The blue suits this character, and I think her design is very sleek, and it's very calm, like water. Which is her type, And I don't want to go any deeper into that. I'm not opening up that can of worms again. That is it. That is all I'm going to say. I think her character is fine. Personality-wise, rather basic, but fine. So I did a few more raid battles so that I could get candies for leveling up. Because, just so I can speed up the stinking process. And wow, Route 5 is very, very long. I guess. Maybe I'm wrong. I just wrote that down. I renamed my Eevee Froyo so that I could have her, or him, be I think it was a guy. And actually, I think it's a girl. Maybe I'm wrong. Because I wanted to turn my Eevee into a Glaceon. So I could replace Miyako later on. Also, I used Dynamax Vespiquen, and I wrote down, just a side note, Dynamax Vespiquen makes me feel very uncomfortable. This isn't a criticism, it just makes me very uncomfortable because I don't like insects. And seeing a giant bee-shaped creature is very, very uncomfortable to me. What did I write here? It, flat out wrote, so I encountered a while since I've peed, and I guess I'll catch it for the sake of catching it. But it doesn't evoke anything out of me. It doesn't, I don't know what I was talking about here. Maybe it was I think it might have been the centipede Pokemon, the fire centipede. Let me go Cerebi. Let me go to Cerebi. Cerebi answers all the questions that I need to know. That's not what I was looking for. Shit. Okay. Okay, I think I know what I'm talking about. I just need to find it. Give me just 1 second. I think I'll find it shortly. I'm hoping. Come on, game. Come on. Or not game. Come on. Oh, there it is. Sizzlipede. Yeah, I think I caught a Sizzlipede. Alright. And its design doesn't really impress me or bring anything out of me. I'm even looking at its secondary design, like its evolutions design. Nah, no, I don't really care. It's a fire bug type, but I mean, I think Volcarona is definitely a more interesting Pokemon, even design-wise. So, that's just me. And so, with our Pokemon all being level 24, we headed out to the Hulberry Gym. Alright. So, as I predicted, Ball Guy gave me another Pokeball from Gen 2. And this time, it was the Lure Ball, which is fine. I'm glad they at least decided to do this, like, Samson Oak from, I think I've said this before, like Samson Oak in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. You encounter this guy and he gives you a rare Pokeball that I don't think you can really get any other time in the game. Which, kudos to this guy. I like this guy for doing that. I grabbed myself the Poison uniform because it looks really cool. Sadly, as I said earlier, I know I can't wear it in the stadium, but hey, it's cool regardless. So we finally arrived at Nessa's gym, which is a maze puzzle, and you basically have to unblock certain sections that are blocked with water. It was pretty standard. It's pretty fucking standard. I wrote, I have to confirm if the gym fights are gonna be a blue fucking void, and yes they are, and I wrote down. So yes, to confirm, yes, it is a blue void. That is what it is. It's a blue void, and that is honestly very depressing. Like, it's becoming less of an agitator and more of just a depressing, like, why? Why would you do that? What was the reason for cutting all the Pokemon if we have battle backgrounds like these that are so mediocre and uninteresting? And you can clearly tell there hasn't been put any effort in them, and it just feels lame. Yeah, it makes it, I wrote, and I quote, "It does make me question why the Pokemon got cut for this." So I finished the gym mission, which was pretty standard. I think this one so far is the weakest, because it's just a maze. And, outside of that, it's very, very simple. I think I preferred Gym 1, even though Gym 1 was easy. At least that one was kind of interesting with the whole sheep wrangling concept. At least that was kind of cute. But outside of that, there we go. Not the greatest mission by far. I wrote down, definitely preferred turf fields. But, the standard gym design was fine. So we fought Nessa. One of the interesting things about, what the fuck? What the fuck did I write here? Oh, I was talking about her team. So let me go to Cerebi, because I'm, at this point, given the way that autocorrect works. So, speaking of her team, it's pretty standard, actually. She has a flat-out Goldeen, an Arrokuda, that's the Pokemon I was talking about, Arrokuda, and Dreadnought. And, to be honest, just a standard fight. It was just a standard fight. There really wasn't much interesting about it. I used, Daisy, which is my Roserade, or Rosalia. I keep saying Roserade because I plan on evolving her into one. But, my Rosalia, um, Daisy, and I basically, I used the, Toxic Spikes, and that pretty much, got it sold for me. Yeah, Dynamax just isn't very interesting, to be blunt. Just not a very interesting thing. Yeah, it just kind of was. It was so fast. It was a one-hit kill. So Dynamaxes can be fast, but yeah. And wow, and I wrote, wow, 5 of my Pokemon went above level 25 from this. So that's overall very very easy gym, not too difficult. But that was pretty neat from that point. I like how Nessa loses her composure after the fight, which is pretty neat. Shows that she has more of a character than they like to state, or than they show. But outside of that, she doesn't get like Whitney and walk out, and she doesn't get like Claire or Blair, whatever her name is, and force you to do something afterwards. So, pretty interesting. It's alright. And yeah, then we got then we got the badge, and we can catch Pokemon up to level 30. Yay! I still hate that mechanic. So I wrote down, so it seems like Oleana wants us to go straight away to see Rose, and suddenly the sun was setting, and I was like, the fuck? Wasn't setting before. I was like, the fuck is this? This game is inconsistent in general with sunsets and shit like that, so I'm just sitting here like, what the fuck's going on? But, that's life, I guess. We interacted with Rose. It was pretty, he's you can tell he's really here to try and make the region better, a better place, but, that's about it. And I like how I did read the trainer cards. Probably my favorite part of this game so far. They're just so funny, and I like how they're all just kind of jokes. So yeah, I'm just gonna stop here. Not a very interesting session, which kind of is how this game seems like it's gonna be going. Primary takeaways is, yeah, I really did want to just focus on the Nessa controversy because that was, that was very important. Outside of that, I felt like I needed to cover that anyway because this wasn't going to be a very interesting session to begin with. So, yeah. Next time we're going to be going through the second Galar Mines because we met Hop at the end of the session. He's like, we got to find Kabu or Habu or whatever his name is, the next gym leader, the fire gym leader. Because he is going to be in the second Galar Mines, and I know Bede is going to be there. Don't know about Marnie. We haven't fought her yet, so I'm interested to see when that happens. Yeah, short session today, I guess. We spent most of it replying to a comment. Yeah. I ain't got much else to say. I don't expect these to get much more interesting until maybe late game, because, so if it gets to that point, I might just squeeze things down into making, like really shorter session videos, just trying to get quick covers of like what I did instead of like these hour-long things. But that's gonna do it this time. Thank you for watching or listening, and have a great evening. Goodbye.